watching Channel Africa Conversations.
The previous administration has shown its inability to change the economic situation of Ghanaian, and there was a lot of anger, and I think we saw that through the vote. It was a resounding victory for Mahama. 56% on the first round. It was unexpected, but I can say it was a vote.
Hello and welcome to the Channel Africa podcast, Channel Africa Conversations. I'm Peter Ndoro. So the people of Ghana have spoken. They went to the polls on the 7th of December 2024 to elect their president and members of parliament. And Ghana's Electoral Commission declared ex-president and main opposition party leader John Dramani Mahama as the winner of the presidential election with 56.55% of the vote. And this is Mahama making a comeback after serving as Ghana's president from 2012 to 2016. He did, amongst other things, say that he wants to renegotiate or look at the $3 billion International Monetary Fund bailout that was secured last year to restructure the country's debt. Well, to unpack what these elections mean and what the people actually voted for and what the future looks like for Ghana. We're now joined on Channel Africa Conversations by Jean-Donald Taladzi, who's a political analyst. Thanks so much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Peter,
for
having me.
No, it's a pleasure. So the people of Ghana have spoken. Let's talk about the election itself. Ghana has always been regarded as one of the bastions of democracy. One rarely ever hears about badly run elections, and that democracy has full expression in the country. Is that how it played out this time again?
Absolutely, Peter. Ghana, you very well summarized what Ghana is when it comes to democracy. The institution of democracies in Ghana are very well established, and it's one of the beacons of democracy on the African continent. And we saw it again once more on the 7th of December, Ghana being able to deliver uncontested elections. We saw something that is very rare on the African continent. The incumbent, the vice president of the NPP, conceding defeat and calling his opponent, Mahama, to congratulate him. So this is it's a very powerful signal that Ghana has shown once more, and we as African and the Ghanaian in particular can only be proud to see that democracy is thriving on the African continent, and it gives a lot of hope, to the African people.
What are your reflections in terms of things like voter turnout? What do they tell us about voter engagement and the issues that were on the table? Were they important to the electorate?
Absolutely. The issues on the table, more particularly the economy, is a very pertinent issue for the people of Ghana. As we know, the people of Ghana have gone through a lot during the second term of the former president, Ado Nana Akufo. So poverty grew, substantially. The cost of living, employment for the young people became, grew as well. So all these issues, really are fundamental to the people of Ghana. And vote turnout, I think the figures shows that there was approximately 60% of turnout, which is not too bad. It's above average. But the 40% who didn't show up, also it's an indication that the people of Ghana are fed up. They are delusional with the political establishment, and that is why many of them didn't show up, because they've lost hope that things will ever change. But this is not the time actually to lose hope and become desperate. things will change only if the people of Ghana get involved and speak out and come together to chart a way forward for their country. So it's always a disappointment to see many people, not showing up to the booth to express their democratic, rights or voices to choose a leader. But you must forgive the people of Ghana. They've gone through a lot for the past few years, and I'm not trying to justify them not showing up to the booth. But what I'm saying is that people become delusional with the political establishment, and some choose simply to sit at home because they believe that change will not come. But the people of Ghana did express themselves in big numbers. I mean, 60% is not a percentage to be taken lightly. It's a good one. Maybe not a very good one, but it is a good one. So I will assume the majority of the people of Ghana expressed themselves on the 2nd of December, and they elected a president who they believe will be able to take up the challenge of rebuilding the Ghanaian economy and then taking the country forward.
So when we analyze the outcome, perhaps it wasn't a surprise given the angst that ordinary citizens were going through. The question is, was it a vote against the old administration, or was it a vote for the new administration in hope?
I would say it was a vote for the new administration in hope. The previous administration has shown its inability to change the economic situation of Ghanaian, and there was a lot of anger, and I think we saw that through the vote. It was a resounding victory for Mahama. I mean, 56% on the first round. It was unexpected, but I can say it was a vote for change, for change. And I'm not sure if the newly elected president will be up to the challenge. Remember, this is a former president. During his tenure, I think around 2012, when he became president of the republic, Ghana went through a lot of economic challenges as well. It was corruption, it was the crisis of energy, electricity, load shedding, all those kind of stuff. So I don't know if the people of Ghana made the correct choice, but I'm sure they strongly believe that he could be the man for the job. And also, given his experience, having been a former president, I think they also voted for experience. That's what I tend to believe. And let's wait and see how he delivers, how he tackles the economic challenges facing the Ghanaian people and improve their lives.
I was just about to ask that. I mean, if they're voting for change, when he lost the last election, it was massive. It wasn't a small margin. It was a huge vote of no confidence that the Ghanaians pretty much showed him. Which begs the question then, what on earth has he been able to do in the interim to convince people that I might have failed you the first time, but I'm going to do better this time?
In Ghana, there are two big political parties, just like you see in America, where you got the Democrats and the Republicans. In Ghana, you got the NDP, and then the NPP and the NDC. Yes, so those are the biggest political players in Ghana, Ghanaian politics, and usually they swap, between those two parties, just like we see in America. So I think the people of Ghana, I mean, those political parties are very well established, in the entire country, and the other players are very small, not so strongly established in the country. So the people will always remember these two parties, the NDP, the NDC, and the NPP. So this time around, Mahama was able to capitalize on the failures of the previous government to show to the people of Ghana that looks something better can be done, and I assure you, yes, I did fail, in the past, but this time around, I understand the issues, and I know exactly what the people of Ghana want, and I'm up to that job to deliver to you whatever needs to be delivered in terms of improving your material condition, So he was able to sell that message very, very brilliantly. And hence the people of Ghana decided to give him the trust, and by overwhelmingly voting for him again for a second term. So I think that's what I can say with regard to the people of Ghana bringing him back in power.
Do we know if he's assembled a new team this time around, or are there loyalists from his first administration that we're likely to see coming into play again?
Look, in politics, you cannot just get rid of your loyalists. You'll have to bring them back, because these are the people that you trust, who will assist you in achieving your agenda. Of course, there'll be new figures who will probably come in to bring a new touch into the whole scheme of things. But I strongly believe that loyalists will always be there. They are there for a reason, because for him to become the president, he needed them. So why get rid of them now? So I strongly believe that the loyalists will be there in full force. And but the most important thing is not having loyalists or not having loyalists. The most important thing is am I able, with the team that I've assembled, am I able to carry out my agenda successfully to meet the aspiration of the people of Ghana. So for me, that's the most important thing. But whoever is there, for me, is irrelevant. The most important thing is, can the people that I've assembled do the job that I expect from them? If the answer is yes to that, then we can all agree that everything else is just irrelevant.
Was President Mahama clear about how he's going to make Ghana great again? Because it's one thing to say, I'll fix the country, I'll make things better, much like Donald Trump was saying, make America great again, but we didn't see what he was going to do, and particularly in the first election, apart from building walls maybe. But has Mahama spelled out exactly what he's going to do to convince people to trust him?
Look, it's difficult to answer that question, because just like we see across the globe, politicians come with promises. We're going to do A, B, C, D, and usually they will speak a language that is favorable, to the people. Yes. So they make those bold promises and all that. But the question is always, how do you get to achieve what you promise? Because it's always the unknown. When you're outside of the establishment or outside of power, you make certain promises, but when you get into office, you have certain realities that you cannot overcome. So it's difficult. I always say, once a leader is elected into office, let's give him the benefit of the doubt to see if he will be able to deliver on the promises made. We see that every day, whether it's in Africa or in Europe or in the Americas, it's the same story. Promises are made, but usually the politician will struggle to deliver on the promises they made to the people. So in the case of Ghana, I can only say, let's wait and see. Mahama knows exactly what the challenges of Ghanaian are. Already there's this 3 billion loan by the IMF that he said he need to renegotiate again. That's a very good start already. It shows his willingness to tackle the real issues head on and make sure that the people of Ghana, or the economy of Ghana, benefits and trickles down to the people for their living condition to be improved. And so let's wait and see how you're going to deliver on those promises.
Has there been I mean, you've described there's two main parties, the NPP, NDC. Have there been any shifts at all in the political landscape, particularly when it comes to maybe newer parties coming through that might not be big yet, but a new thinking is starting to come through? We know that we live in a world of social media now where voices are more immediate and can sound quite loud. They may not be in politics, but they certainly are a gauge that politicians have to take cognizance of. All of that together, has politics moved slightly in Ghana at all, or is it much the same as before?
I wouldn't say it's much the same as before. The flow of information, just like you've alluded, social media. I mean, there's a massive, flow. I will say information overload on a daily basis in all aspects of life: politics, economics, sports, music. There's just so much. Our phones, our TVs, smartphones, and smart TV. We cannot escape. All these things. So, and the people of Ghana, especially the youth, are also very much aware and are very much involved. There are new political parties which have emerged. There's this young politician, I don't remember his name exactly, I think he's in his 40s, who contested this election as well. He didn't do so well. It's an indication that young people in Africa are no longer, sitting on the sad way and just leaving the politics to the old establishment. Even here in South Africa, we saw the ANC losing power. Why would the ANC lose power in South Africa? ANC being the liberation movement, simply because many of the young people who did not experience apartheid, who are fighting for their bread and butter, who want to go to school, having their school being paid and all that, they've got no attachment to the past, to their apartheid past. Maybe to the parents, yes, they're living the consequences of apartheid today, but they didn't live it themselves. So they is a detachment, so they vote for real change, they vote for what they want to see the country or for their own interest. And that's why, a political party like the ANC will lose power in South Africa. So it's the failure of government or governance. So in Ghana, the young people are starting to wake up to that reality to say we need to get involved and much more forcefully so that we can also participate in the mainstream politics of our countries and bring about change. So I believe that's Ghana is also on that path.
Whenever there's an election on the continent, one of the issues often is regional stability, particularly in the region that the country is that's having the election, and then the bigger story, the continent. Would have ECOWAS states been watching the goings on in Ghana and wondering if the result is a positive one for the region or not?
Yes, they've been watching it keenly with a keen eye. First of all, you see there are three countries in the region, the Sahel region, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. These three countries have walked away from the regional body that bring all these countries together, ECOWAS. So stability is very, very important. You cannot build a nation in a state of chaos. You cannot build a region in a state of chaos. So there must be stability. And political stability on the African continent is almost like a talon d'Achille. It's something that is rare. Whenever there are elections on the African continent, people are very anxious because we don't know how the end of the election will look like. Because people are, the incumbent usually doesn't want to concede defeat. But in the case of Ghana, I think there was no reason to hope that or to believe that things will be different from what we saw on the 7th of December. Like we said earlier on the onset of this, podcast, Ghana is a beacon of democracy, recognized on the African continent and beyond. So stability is something that is central to Africa. Africa has gone through a lot of pain and suffering and blood and sweat because of politics or political elections. So Africa or ECOWAS can only be grateful that Ghana was able to deliver a peaceful election where there was no real contestation. Yes, there was some trouble there and there before the results were announced, but that was very unfortunate. But I wouldn't call that political instability because it was just the people being on the edge, wanting the result to be published now although the electoral commission was still within the prescribed time before announcing the result. People were just, but it's the fear comes from the knowledge that in Africa, nothing is guaranteed. Anything can happen, but it's not unique to Africa. Now we can see also that in America, the same fears do exist. We saw during the first term of Donald Trump when he lost the elections. He brought his people into the street and to contest, claiming, electoral fraud and all that. Second term, before even the election, we saw him declaring already that the election has been cooked. So Africa is not alone into this reality. Elsewhere in the world, we see the same as well. So people are always on edge when it comes to political election. But when the institutions are there, the institution of democracies, when they are there and they are well established, I usually tend to believe there's no reason to believe that there's another conspiracy somewhere that is being cooked to change the reality of the ballot. So yes, ECOWAS must be very happy right now, and the people of Ghana and the people of the continent for having a successful election in Ghana, very peaceful and uncontested results. So that for me is something that I will leave it.
Some people might say that when you look to the UK, you look to the US, the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans, and in the UK, Labour versus Conservative, the difference is quite marked, and you know what you're voting for when you vote for these parties. Is it the same in Ghana? Is the difference between MPP and NDC so significant? Is one more capitalist, one more Labour? What is the choice that people are making?
The choice that people are making in the context of Ghana, here you had a government that failed to deliver on the promises of changing the life of the people for the better. I don't think the people in Ghana vote based on the ideology of the parties that they're voting for. There are a lot of elements that come into it. There are tribal elements. There's also issues of bread and butter. Really, these are the main one. But tribal identity and stuff like that are also part of the game. Remember, this is Africa. And in Africa, we tend to support people that come from where we come from, although they can be the most, the most incompetent, people, but we still vote them because they come from our village, they come from our cities and stuff like that. So there are still those considerations. But in the context of Ghana, frankly, I would say two main issues, played the role in having Mahama being brought back to power. The one thing is the tribal element. Of course, the people who coalesce around him and his supporters will go all out for him. But also the real issues of bread and butter, which have affected the Ghanaian people across the board. Whether you are from the north, the south, the west, it doesn't matter. The people of Ghana have been affected across the board. And they saw in Muhammad an individual with a vision to really tackle the issues at hand. And they gave him, they trusted him, and then they gave him a pass to come back to power. And then now it's up to him to deliver those promises that he has made to the people of Ghana.
So he set a precedent in many ways where somebody who was a former president is ousted and then comes back again. This hasn't happened in Ghana before. So were they voting for him or voting for his party?
Two things. I wouldn't say they were voting for him as an individual, really. One could argue that as well, because remember, this is a former president who may not have done so well when he was in power, but he had some experience. He was there before, and he's a leader of a big political party that is, very well established in the country. So those are the different elements that could have played, and the message is political message during this campaign as well, to say, I'm here to fix the problem. These are the issues confronting our country. and I've got a solution for each of these problems. I know how to fix them. You just trust me and I'll deliver. And the people of Ghana, in their desperation, because remember something here, the people of Ghana are desperate to see the material condition to change because of all these high cost of living, the government being unable to service its debts and all. So these are major issues. These are major issues, and there's no easy solution. So he seemed to have been able to touch the hearts of the Ghanaian people, and that is why they trusted him again. So one could say, as an individual, it could have played a role because as being a former president, having some experience of running the state, so that could have won him a lot of votes as well. Also, the party, the strength of his party being very well established and having run a proper campaign, a very successful campaign, and also the message above the campaign, but it is the message that is communicated to the people. Was the message brilliantly delivered? I think so, and that is why the people of Ghana voted for him overwhelmingly, because 56%, like I said earlier, is a big success. It's a big margin for a first term. For the first round actually, because a lot of people were hoping for second round of this election, but he won overwhelmingly the first round, and that was very, very powerful.
So we talked about the regional story. What about further afield, even beyond our continent? Would other countries beyond our continent, particularly the West, have been watching these elections? And does Mahama's victory affect relations between the West and Ghana and bigger nations?
I don't think the Mahama's victory will affect Ghana's relation with the outside world. It's all about interest. Is Ghana a threat to the American interest, the current establishment? Are they a threat to the Western interest in Ghana? I don't think so. We need each other. Ghana need foreign investment to come back to the country, to boost the economy, to create jobs for its people. And in that, Muhammad has no choice but to reset the relationship with the West and make sure that the people of Ghana win. And the West also needs Ghana for its mineral resources. There's oil in Ghana, there's gold, there's cocoa. So all these things are important, mineral for Ghana, to boost its relationship with the West. So we basically need each other. So I do not see Ghana being going to the path of shifting its relationship with the West. I think so. It's in the interest of Ghana basically to reset this relationship, but to reset them in a sense that Ghana must win at the end of the day, not the other way around. The West want to score to win, of course, they will defend their interests, but Ghana must also be able to defend its interests for its own good.
All right, as we start to try and unpack the future, what are the quick wins that President Mahama must get before people start losing patience?
The quick win would be the economy. If he can try very, very, very early on in his term in office, if he can try very, very, very hard to make sure that he alleviates the suffering of the people of Ghana, reducing the cost of living, for instance. I know it's not going to be easy. It means you will have to subsidize some of the areas in the economy, especially maybe removing some taxes on basic goods like bread, sugar, cooking oil and stuff like that, fish and meat. Those are different options that can use that he can use to alleviate the weight of the impact on the Ghanaian everyday living. So those are some of the issues that he can do, but how well can he do it? That's anyone's guess. So for me, I would say if you can start there, I think that will go a very long way. The people of Ghana will see that he really cares, and and they'll probably be patient with it before they start already working against him if they don't see any real change.
All right. Again, looking forward, we've talked about the quick wins. What does the opposition now do? The newly, the old administration going into the backbenches.
They will have to go back and reflect on how they got into this situation. I mean, they are very much alive to the reality that during Nana Akufo-Addo's term, things didn't go well for Ghana at all. We saw the state not being able to service its debts. We saw unemployment for the youth, the cost of living skyrocketing, and all those. So they will have to reflect on the failures. How did we get there? What could we have done better, to improve the situation? So it's a reflection mode right now, and reassess their policies and see how they can, dust off and then stand up again. So I think this is what the parties now they are busy doing right now, just to reflect on what went wrong and then see how best they can jump next time.
So President-elect Mahama is going to be inaugurated, I think, January the 7th. What do you think his message has to be on that day?
His message will be very simple, and it must be very simple, which is a message of hope for the people of Ghana. Maybe not going into details how he's going to achieve that, the change that the people of Ghana voted for, but it has to be the message of hope, because the people of Ghana right now are going through a lot, and the people are angry with the establishment, the previous government, for the failures, for the living conditions, for the youth graduating from universities and not getting jobs. So the message must be very, very narrowly focused on how we can best build the economy of Ghana, how we can improve the living conditions, and how can the economy of the country can be rebuilt. And that will be, like I said earlier, foreign investment will be needed very much so. Also, an environment that makes it easy for foreign investment to come back to Ghana. So those are the issues that we must focus on. There's nothing more than that.
Jean-Donald Taladzi, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much indeed for joining us on Channel Africa Conversations.
It's only a pleasure, Peter Ndoro, for having me this morning.
So that was Jean-Donald Taladzi giving us his thoughts on what happens now that President Mahama-elect has been voted in by the people of Ghana. What does it mean for the future of the country? Well, January 7th, he gets inaugurated and a new chapter in the life of Ghana begins. Well, this chapter closes. That's the end of today's program. Thanks so much indeed for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. But before I go, just a quick reminder, we'd love for you to engage with us on social media, on our platforms, and you can see them on your screen now. Please, we'd love to hear what your thoughts are in terms of the kinds of conversations you'd like to hear and the kinds of people that you want us to be talking to. This podcast really is about the conversations that interest you. So please drop a note in the comment section and we'll get to that. Until the next time, take care.